Greetings and salutations, folks. Today's video is just going to be a tour of my garden, as it were, here on the balcony, up in Chicago. But anyways, my viewer retention is really shit. People watch like the first 2 minutes of the video and then tune out. So I'll just list the three main takeaways I want people to have from this video right at the start. First and foremost, you can bring the natives home even if you have limited space availability. I'm working primarily with just a couple of pots and some window boxes, and I've managed to bring home a good array of native species, which is pretty cool. So, second point, weeds can be valuable. We'll get into that a bit more when I discuss these two weedy pots right here. And then third and finally, setbacks are going to happen. Wind and heavy rains are going to kill your plants. Rabbits are going to munch on them. Shit's going to happen that'll kill your plants. The important thing is that you learn from those experiences, and then you take what you've learned from that and move forward, basically. For example, we'll get into that a bit later with the story of my Schizocarium scoparium. So that's the introduction out of the way. Bam, and let's get into the plants. So as I indicated at the start, these are my two weedy pots. We'll start with the closer one and then move over there. So in this one, what we've got is Solidago altissima, the tall goldenrod. That blew into this pot adventitiously, and I decided to just let it ride because Solidago altissima is a good native species. Solidagos, of course, are very important in that they provide there's a lot of really interesting insect activity within the Solidagos. You know, you got your gallformers and stuff like that. I plant them because they're incredible late season food for pollinators. You know, in like August and September, there's not a lot going off but the Solidagos and the Symphyotrichums. So to provide some of that late season food, I've just allowed this Solidago altissima to kind of go off and do its thing. It's spreading by rhizome quite readily throughout this pot, so it's important to note that if you plant one Solidago altissima one year, you're going to have more next year, which is probably awesome, but it could be a bit problematic if you're working with limited spaces and things like that. What I've also got in this pot, aside from the Solidago altissima, are these three individuals right here. Those are Erigeron annuus, the daisy fleabane, another member of the Asteraceae. This is kind of my ruderal aster pot, my tribute to all the cool asters out there, like your Oligoneuron ochienses, your eutrochiums, your hastiolas, your liatris, your Erigeron pulchellus. This is my tribute to them. I can't get some of those in the garden, so I just kind of have these weedy guys to remind me that they're out there. But as you can see, I got some wood shavings down here because I'm a cheap asshole and I don't buy mulch. I do whittle though, and that produces a lot of wood shavings, so I use those in kind of my sneaky way of getting mulch without having to pay for it because I'm a cheap asshole. Mulch is good to have for like a couple of reasons. Of course, it traps heat, it traps water, it decomposes to enrich the soil and provides food for detritivores. So mulch is great to have. Mulch is really important, of course. It's also got a little oxalis showing up in there, a little sour grass. Moving to this pot, we've got a couple of Viola ceroria, which I'm just letting spread and do their thing, get nice and strong so I can jam them in a lawn or someone's bed somewhere where they won't get killed. Viola ceroria, you might think of it as a weed. You might think of a lot of these plants as weeds. I described Erigeron annuus as weedy. Solidago altissima definitely gets considered a weed. Viola ceroria shows up in a lot of lawns, probably considered a weed as well. But you just got to kill the concept of a weed in your head because all of these species are natives and they provide incredible food, habitat, housing for native species. All these leaves, for example, can be used by megachilid bees to construct a nest. The viola is a host plant for fritillaries, which are a very beautiful group of butterflies like Sphaeria idalia. I think that one's threatened in Indiana, actually. So it's really important to keep these weeds around because in a lot of circumstances, they act as important cornerstones to the ecosystem. You want these keystone common species to, facilitate a good basis of your food web, and then you'll cascade up from there. But anyways, that was a bit of a rant. Sorry about that. What I also want to show you, aside from the Viola Aurelia, which is lovely, I just pulled that out of the lawn basically, are these two smaller ones. And those are Senehiba, which is a Cisalpinoid member of the Fabaceae. So it won't get, your traditional banner wings and keel inflorescence. It will, however, get the P standard of compound leaves, and it'll also have extrafloral nectaries, which, as I understand it, is a trait that's pretty widespread among the Fabaceae. Extrafloral nectaries are really cool. The ants, extrafloral nectaries basically are a secretion of nectar that occurs outside of a flowering structure. Ants like to eat that nectar, so they defend the Senehiba plant. It's a really cool example of a mutualism. And with that out of the way, those weedy pots and this one cool guy that I got going on, we'll move into some of my my better pots. All right. So this pot right here, jackass. So this pot right here is one of my sand simulations, and we'll just run down the species real quick through here because I'm kind of trying to time crunch this video down so you can really see all the good stuff. Well, we've got right here with the palmate compound leaves and the kind of blue cotyledons. That is Lupinus perennis, the host plant for the endangered Carner blue butterfly. It gets beautiful, beautiful pea flowers in a raceme. Yeah, in a raceme because they got a pedicel. Anyways, I plant a lot of beans, a lot of fabids, because they fix nitrogen due to their association with the rhizobia bacteria. And Lupinus perennis is just a beautiful wildflower, so you'll see a couple of those. I've got some of them in window boxes as well. But these cotyledons down here, those belong to Symphyotrichum ulentangiense, which is great because you get to say the word ulentangiense and sound real smart and sciencey. But that's another great late season food source. It's just a really cool Symphyotrichum. Beautiful sky blue flowers on it when it blooms. Not sure if those will bloom for me this year or if they'll just produce roots. Whatever the case, it's good to have because, like I said, all foliage is housing material for megachilid bees. So we got the Lupinus perennis there. We've also got Carex pennsylvanica, which, I've just talked a ton about, a couple little portions of it throughout here. We've also got Crotalaria sagittalis, which is an annual plant, so hopefully this will flower, get pollinated, set seed, and then it'll just reseed itself continually for me, which would be really nice. So I think I've also got the remnants of my you can see right here, the remnants of my Schizocarium scoparium population, which I put out too early, and a lot of them got cold and wind killed. So that's what I'm talking about when I say setbacks are going to happen. You're going to make mistakes, and plants aren't going to do so hot as a result of those mistakes. But what's important is that you learn. So I learned about the wind and we got hit with the heavy rains, and that's just a thing that's going to happen. But the wind killed it down too. And so what I've learned is to kind of plant below the rim, as you can see here, to kind of provide that as a sort of windbreak for some of these plants as they develop. And then they'll slowly perk up over it and get kind of acclimated to that very windy environment. I've also added in a lot of sand to the soil here, to the potting soil, because these plants, these native species are, of course, found in sandy systems. I love sandy systems. Some of my favorite ecosystems are sand-based. As you can see, we got the mulch, but it's kind of like 50-50 between mulch and bare soil. But bare soil is really important to keep around as well, because that provides nesting space, housing space rather, for like andrenids, andrena bees, calides. Well, andrenas are kind of stem miners, but I have seen some nest in soil. Anyways, andrenids and calides. Bare soil is important for native bees, so you want to leave some, if you can get away with it, to provide that housing. Because the thing you should always be asking with native plantings is, how can I be providing for the native ecosystem? That's a really big thing to kind of consider in your planting and landscaping decisions, if this is the avenue you should choose to take. So this is the last window box we'll cover, and then I'll just cut the video because it gives you a good idea of what kind of species I'm working with, and the fact that yes, you can have a diverse array of native plant species even with limited space. These two huge mounds here, I'm sure you guys will remember from that video I did about how to germinate native flora. These are my Monarda punctata. They're doing absolutely gangbusters. They were getting a little bit root bound, so I had to throw them in here with a bunch of Crotalaria sagittalis, which we've already talked about. Monarda punctata is a great plant. Spotted horseman exemplifies the classic mint floral morphology of a verticilliaster, a composite flowering array arranged around a central point with a bilabiate corolla, 2 fused petals on the top and 3 fused petals on the bottom in the Lamiaceae. It's a great plant. You can use it as a basil substitute. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I might use it for a basil substitute. I got a fair amount of it. It's also fun to pet, because your fingers come away from it smelling kind of nice and minty because it's in the Lamiaceae. But so that's beside the point. That's all just fluff. What I wanted to also show you guys in here is this. This is a developing, sorry if I'm shaky, I drank a lot of coffee. This is a developing Opuntia cespitosa, our northern prickly pear, or I forget what the common name of the prickly pear is. It's Opuntia cespitosa, and even that is a bit in flux with how naming systems work for taxa. I don't know if I feel confident calling it. It's just what I call it. It's Opuntia cespitosa to me. Sorry about that, bit of a diversion. But anyway, it's awesome to see because you've got the ancestral dicotyledonous feature, of course, of having 2 seed leaves, and then it's developing a cactus pad. A modified stem, if I'm not mistaken, is what the cactus pad is derived from. But so that's really cool to see Opuntia cespitosa germinate and go through these different phases of its life. And that's the cool thing about native plants and gardening, is you can learn from these. For example, you might not have known that cacti are a dicot family, but if you germinated Opuntia cespitosa and you saw those 2 seed leaves, you would immediately presume, of course, oh, cacti are dicots, which is pretty neat. I've learned a lot of stuff from native landscaping. Learned that flies pollinate Erythema triphyllum, for example, because in one of the videos I was shooting, I just lifted open the spathe of an Erythema in my backyard at Chesterton, and bam, fly came out. So flies pollinate Erythema. Cacti are dicots. You can learn from this stuff. So have fun and do that.